In a remote Ural village called Berezhniki lived a lonely elderly woman named Anna Sergeyevna. Her house stood on the edge of the village, closer to the forest than to her neighbors. Strangers rarely came by, only the postman and a nurse from the district hospital occasionally visited. Anna's life was calm, measured, and full of love for animals which she picked up from the streets and cared for as best she could. Every morning she started her day with a cup of tea by the window and a short walk around the yard where the soft footsteps of her beloved cat Marussia followed quietly behind her. One spring day, 3 hunters, returning from an unsuccessful expedition, stumbled upon a wolf's den in the forest. Inside were 3 wolf pups, fluffy, tiny, and whimpering pitifully. They decided to take 2 of them for themselves, but didn't know what to do with the third and weakest one. As they passed by Anna Sergeyevna's house and knew of her kindness, they left the little pup at her gate and hurried away. They had no idea how much this tiny creature would come to mean in the old woman's life. In the morning, as she went out for firewood, Anna found the frozen little one. Thinking it was a discarded puppy, she held it to her chest and brought it inside. She warmed it, fed it warm milk, wrapped it in an old scarf, and placed it by the stove. The wolf pup quickly adapted and turned out to be surprisingly affectionate. Anna named him Gray. He was quiet, attentive, and seemed incredibly intelligent, as if he understood her every word. Over time, he became part of her life. He followed her during chores, lay beside her when she wasn't feeling well, and once even chased off a fox sneaking toward the chicken coop. Months passed. Gray grew stronger and more impressive, but still slept at his mistress's feet and joyfully responded to her call. He never showed aggression, not even toward the chickens in the yard. Only sometimes at night, he would lift his head toward the window and let out a quiet howl as if recalling something from his wild past. He loved watching the fire in the stove and would sit for long periods with his head on Anna's lap during those evenings when the wind howled outside and snowdrifts piled high. He was her shadow, her quiet guardian. One day, at the village store, a local man approached Anna and, chuckling, asked, "How's your wolf doing?" She was taken aback. "What wolf?" "The hunters said they left you a wolf pup, not a dog." Only then did Anna begin to wonder why Gray never barked and why he seemed so different from all the dogs she had ever owned. But by then it was too late. He had become her son, her protector, her only friend. And most importantly, her kindred spirit. A year passed. The winter was particularly harsh. One February evening, the village was shaken by news. 3 convicts had escaped from the prison in Krasnoborsk. Police were combing the area, but no trace was found. As always, Anna Sergeyevna locked the door with a hook and sat down to knit while Gray lay by the stove. He was calm, but his ears twitched constantly. He was carefully listening to every sound beyond the walls of the cottage. At night, he got up and silently circled the house before returning quietly to Anna's side. There was something tense in the air. Late at night, there was a knock at the door. The wolf jumped up and growled, the fur on his neck bristling. Anna thought it was a neighbor coming for medicine. She opened the door slightly but was immediately struck on the head. 3 men burst into the house. They didn't expect resistance. In their minds, an old woman posed no threat. The first thing they saw were the glowing eyes of a massive wolf in the dim light. Gray positioned himself between Anna and the intruders, growling with a force that froze their hearts. One of the attackers reached for a knife, but didn't make it. Gray leapt, knocked him to the floor, and bit into his arm. The other 2 panicked and fled the house. One grabbed a stool and hit Gray, but the wolf didn't back down. He growled, defending his mistress with relentless fury. He fought as if for his life, yet acted with incredible precision, not killing but stopping. Meanwhile, neighbors who heard the commotion called the police. One of the criminals shot at the wolf, hitting his paw, which only enraged him more. He killed no one, he simply wouldn't let them near Anna. When the police arrived, 2 bandits were already hiding in the shed and the third lay slumped against a wall, unable to move. Gray stood by Anna, breathing heavily, still growling. His eyes burned, but as the officers approached the woman, the wolf lowered his head as if he understood that the danger had passed. Anna Sergeyevna was taken to the hospital with a concussion. Gray, wounded but alive, was taken in by a veterinarian from the district center. A month later, he was running again in the yard, limping but happy. Life gradually returned to normal. Anna kept knitting warm clothes, tending to her garden, and talking to Gray as if he understood every word. She told him about her dreams, reminisced about her youth, shared jam recipes, and thanked fate daily for that fateful encounter. One evening, she even began writing a story about him, the very one that begins here. Since then, people all over the region talked about the wolf who saved an old woman. Journalists came to Bereznyky and wrote articles. Reporters interviewed neighbors, schoolchildren wrote essays about bravery. The story spread across social media, people sent letters of thanks, some offered money. But Anna didn't care for the attention. She simply stroked Gray's back and quietly said, "You're my hero. My boy." And in those moments, the wolf, the very one they meant to leave to die in the forest, pressed himself close to her and knew he was home. And in that home, there was warmth, care, and most importantly, love. And that love was enough for both, the old woman and the wolf, who survived a terrifying night and became a family to each other. Now, every morning, Gray greeted her at the door, and every evening, he lay at her feet. And when Anna looked into his eyes, she saw not just gratitude, but a loyalty that words could never fully capture. And maybe most importantly, he had taught her to believe again that there is room for miracles in this world, even if they come in the form of a wild creature.